Hey guys, Mike here. So, what another big day on Friday, another all-time high set. Seems like another day, another new all-time high going in there. Next week's going to be very interesting because it's going to be very light news. I'll show you tomorrow and some interesting earnings. And remember, we don't have FOMC next week. It's going to be the week after, okay? And so, we'll see how the market wants to set it up going into that. It's pretty much all sure they're going to do a rate cut because we got the job data yesterday. Again, I'll go into all this in tomorrow's video, setting up the week. But it kind of leads me into your questions, right? So people are asking about these negative or bearish divergences in the market, which I'll show you firsthand when it comes to volume, when it comes to any kind of momentum indicators. We'll talk about Nike. We'll talk about, some of you asked me about how come these stocks right here have these great valuations, but they're not moving. I'm going to show you exactly why and what you're missing out on when it comes to that kind of stuff. And then we'll talk about Bitcoin for a minute. I had a bunch of questions on that as well when it comes to MSTR and stuff. And so very good questions. I appreciate them all. Feel free to participate in this as usual. And that leads me into my first one here. It says, I keep seeing everyone posting about bearish divergences in the market. Can you show me what they are talking about and should we be concerned? And we'll start off with the one when it comes to volume, right? And I'll pull up the Mag 7 and the SPY to let you see this because the Mag 7 make up such a big part of the SPY and the QQQ. But when you look, what have you been seeing over months now, since August? Volume decreasing, and what's the market been doing? Been going up, setting all-time new high after all-time new high, okay? Now, is this normal? Yes, it's normal. We'll go back and look. That's what I say. It always leads to something, but it can go on for quite a while. Go back to 2022. And you look at the Mag 7. What do you see happening here? Obviously, the volume is going down, but the Mag 7 was going up. And so, and I'll also show you something else to look for when you start to see like, wow, are we at a topping process, or are you going to see a nice, big pullback or crash or something, okay? And so you can clearly see that, right? Volume going down. These are going up. And when you pull up the Mag 7 when it comes to like the RSI right here, you can see bearish divergence back then. You get a crash. You go up here, you see you're just raging. What do you see? Bearish divergence for a long time. See a crash. Again, Mag 7 going up. And what are we seeing? Still got RSI, bearish divergence going on. But it goes on for a long time. When you look at SPY, you can see the same thing, right? It's going up. There you go. Bearish divergence, crash. See the market going up. Bearish divergence, crash. But you can see it goes on for a long time, almost a year. Look at this one. It's just going sky high. Bearish divergence, pretty obvious, sitting there on the S&P. Okay. One thing to look for, especially in the Mag 7, to know if you're getting that really like blow off top is going to come, you'll see a surge in the volume, right? Coming up here. And then boom, away we go. You see a surge in the volume. Okay. And so right now we don't have that. We just have decrease in volume. And so, again, it can go on for a long time. It's not abnormal. You've seen it in the past. When's it going to play out? That's the big question, okay? But that's negative divergences. You can bring up the MACD as well. Now, next one here says, I have a question for you and your channel viewers. Can you go over why a stock like Devon, which is trading at a PE of 6 to 7, paying off debt, and has a dividend yield of 5.5%, is falling while unprofitable companies like Unity is moving higher? And it's very, very simple. Let me show you. Devon right here, I don't even know the stock. I've heard of it or whatever. You can see clearly been selling down since the rest of the market bottomed out. What does that tell you? Because it was popping in 2022. That is called clear rotation. But when you look over here, that is why you're seeing these kind of stocks, which are in the energy field. And you see their revenues and their profits aren't really increasing. You're seeing them get downgrades and all that fun stuff. And it just simply is this sector, not just this stock. This sector is not hot right now. It's not where money is going. It's not where big money is going. Maybe where your money's going, but it's not where big money is going, right? And when you see what I'm talking about here, if you just pull up Oxy, for example, boom, right? Not happening. Money don't love it. Okay, it was going up in 2022, not now. BP, right? Not loving it. But when I talk about this, all you got to do is pull up like XLE divided by SPY to see, and you go, whoop, nope, not good, right? Not a breakout yet. When you pull up oil, right? You pull up oil divided by SPY, same thing. Okay, now if it breaks out, eventually it will get its breakout. Money will rotate back in here eventually. But that's how you're going to know if it's rotating. Right now, you're just sitting and putting your money in stocks that just aren't, hot stuff right now. The big money's not going into it. Here's where it's going. ARKK breaking out of this stage 1 and forever. Okay, all I have to do is pull up ARKK. Anything in ARK, for example, these high-flying stocks, right? And divided by SPY, and you can see what's it doing? It's breaking out versus SPY, which means money has rotated into this. We'll pull this trend line over right here. I had this over here forever, it seems like. But it is starting to move. That's the market we're in right now. is these high flyers. I've showed this to you. And so again, this is what's happening. You saw it back here, right? No money was going into it for years, and then boom, big breakout. And so right now, money's just not going into stocks like Devon and Oxy and all those others. Okay, you're seeing others like, for example, if you pull up like Lululemon, them are going crazy, like XLY, excuse me, discretionary things we don't need. What's going crazy? Your Lulus and all these other ones and these makeup companies. Boom. Why? Because it's going up against SPY. It's exploding right now. You can easily draw a trend line on this to see and go, okay, here, I'll put a trend line right here so you can see it even better and go, oh yeah, that's a breakout. That's a breakout against SPY. And that's what you're basically looking for here. And so that would be the easiest answer for you. I hope somebody else may have a different answer, but that's my answer. You see that? So when you get a big breakout, away we go. All right. So that means that's where money is flowing. So hopefully that helps you out there. Let me know. Now, next one here from Dr. Marcus says, I like the chart setup for Nike at this point, but with earnings coming up, it would get risky in terms of a trade. In terms of a long-term investment, it is also tricky, and it's basically back where it was 5 years ago. Just curious what you think about both a trade and a long-term investment. Also here, I want to thank Dean here. Appreciate the super chat. You don't have to do that, though. And he said, interested in Nike. Great channel. Well, understand, let's go ahead and talk about Nike here. It's got a lot of problems, but here's this long-term trend line. It goes back to 1994. As you can see right here, we put some arrows. This thing has bounced once, twice, 3 times a lady. Oh, sorry. And then it hit 3 more times here, which I'll zoom in and show you. So you got 1, 2, 3, okay? And so that's a good thing is it's held that long-term trend line. So as long as that holds, you're good. The shaded box beneath as well came into it, and that goes back here. And that was a gap I talked about months ago. I said, I bet you this thing fills it to the penny. It filled it to the penny. That's the 2020 crash, if I'm not mistaken. And that's where it bounced from. So it's held that. Breaks the long-term trend line and starts heading down, boy, you're in deep trouble. I mean, it's going to drop dramatically. But looking at this, what else does Nike like to respect? Year-to-date anchored VWAPs. I got these anchored from 2024 going back to 2021, I think. And what I mean by that is respect. It means it reacts off of it. Okay, you can see it right here. Many rejections off of that anchor VWAP. False breakout, boom, away we go. Okay, you can go back to any year you want, and you're going to see that. All right, that's the thing about Nike. It respects those year-to-date anchor VWAPs. Not all stocks do. You can see it right there. See it? And so not only to the downside, but to the upside as well. Other things we'll start looking at on Nike is, where can it go? Well, if it can catch a bid, it has earnings coming up. So far, though, I just showed you consumer discretionary has been doing well. I can't predict their earnings because they have a lot of trouble. They don't have the Michael Jordans anymore. And, they have the shoe, but I mean, they don't have a big star, and people just seem to, the competition has been really harsh. China, the market's been really harsh to them. And so, again, it's above its 50, it's above its 100. But you look right there, if it does get a breakout, this right here is going to be, this area right here is going to be heavy resistance, okay? Because it's going to come up into a 200 moving average, a declining 200 moving average, that year-to-date anchor VWAP, and you can see that area has been resistance from 82 to like 86 right there. So if it comes in there, it's going to be really brutal to get through it. But if it does, that thing is going to explode, honestly, because that is a pressure cooker area. I mean, that is a big wall to try to get through. I'll be surprised if it does, but guess what? Look what Lulu, Ulta, all these other companies are doing on earnings. They're jumping huge. And so again, is it risky? Yeah, especially the earnings coming up on the 19th. But as long as you hold the trend line and that support line, 74 to 75, you're good. Expect resistance here. If it blows through that on earnings, then away it goes to 94.51 to the next anchor VWAP. Somewhere in that area is when I look at this. Another thing to look at is pull up your VRVP right here, volume range, volume profile. You can see it, right? 92.20 right there at that anchor VWAP. Explodes through there on earnings. It is in that volume gap right there. So you see support below, you see resistance above. So that kind of gives you your range of what you're looking at. So it could be risky, but we'll see how it plays out. Let me know how you're going to play it. Now, Vince here says, question about MicroStrategy. Yes, it does move like a crypto because 90% of its assets are now Bitcoin. So is that a bad strategy or not? I just like to know, should I be looking at Bitcoin chart and saying this is good, so therefore MicroStrategy is good, or is there something I'm not seeing? I don't think there's anything you're not seeing. Yeah, I mean, it moves like Bitcoin. We'll pull it up. Here it is right here. And then we pull up Bitcoin. You can see it basically moves just like it, right? When we had the flash crash just the other night, we dropped from like 103 to 90,000 pretty quickly. It dropped when we opened up, and then, of course, it recovered right along with it. You can see it right there. And so it moves just like it. This is a daily. We go to a 2 hour. You can see it even better right there. So yes, it moves like Bitcoin. That's the way it is. It's like a proxy for Bitcoin. But what happens is the moves higher or more and the moves lower or more. Okay. And so just be aware of that right there. And then a lot of people are adopting, their strategy, right? They're buying Bitcoin versus other things. Okay, like the miners. I'm talking about the miners and stuff. Are saying, well, like Mara said, and one other said, we're just going to start buying it, right? They're mining it, but we're going to start buying it and holding it and trying to adopt this strategy because it works for MicroStrategy. Now, understand when Bitcoin plummets, when this whole cycle's over, MicroStrategy is going with it. So that's why I say this isn't some long-term investment stuff, right? And again, the swings are bigger on this one than not. But also understand when you're, it's holding this shaded area I drew out like 2 weeks ago, I think it was, and it keeps bouncing from here. But when you're up in this area, when you've had this huge move, and understand when it comes to the crypto cycle and you get in this bull run, there are still drops. Okay, actually, sometimes you can be some massive drops. So the time you want to get into Mister is way back there. Okay, when it's sitting there doing nothing and nobody wants it and everybody's talking about it, that's when you want to get in there. You start trying to accumulate up here. If you're trading, it's one thing, but if you're trying to accumulate for the long haul, it's risky, right? You got to be willing to suffer through some big drawdowns. Bitcoin's going to have some big drawdowns. You just saw a freaking, what was it, 11% in like a matter of a couple hours or something. But, in every single cycle, we've had like 30% drops, 40% drops very quickly too, okay? So just keep that in mind when you're talking about this. Now, that leads into Alan here. Can you explain how companies and their stock are benefiting from adding Bitcoin to their books? Is it a simple passive revenue stream like for a retail investor, or is there something more to it? Is there any significant increased risk to the companies that are doing it? And if we're talking about regular companies like Square who dollar cost average into it, I don't think it hurts the stock or whatever. I don't think a lot of people even know who holds Bitcoin, to be honest with you. I bet a lot of people don't know Square dollar cost averages every month, okay? They're not even looking at that. They're looking at the actual revenue they're bringing in from their actual products or services that they have. And so what I can see is I don't see like a downfall unless, of course, we get a government who all of a sudden says we're going to outlaw Bitcoin or something. Obviously, they're going to take a hit depending on how much they have. But I don't think companies are putting enough into it to actually hurt them. It's no different than when they're buying bonds or whatever other assets they're trying to keep on their books. There's a risk to everything, I guess. But I don't think people are like secretly searching out and going, I'm going to buy Microsoft more if they buy Bitcoin. I don't think that's going to happen. And Microsoft was talking to Microsoft about that. I don't know if they've made a decision or not or when they will. But I don't think it hurts them. Probably doesn't help them either. I mean, MicroStrategy is different because they actually have a product, believe it or not, a software product, but nobody knows what it is. So everybody just buys them because of Bitcoin. Okay. So hopefully that helps out on that one. Please let me know if somebody else who's an expert in crypto has a better answer. Now, last one here says, hey, Mike, with Doge wanting to get rid of these not needed government workers, which obviously will affect unemployment claims, how might that affect the market? I know most of these jobs being created were in the government sector, so I'd imagine the market would get scared to see unemployment and jobless claims spike up if Doge truly does what it claims. And this is an interesting one because I commented on this earlier. Look, if they just go through and say, yeah, U.S. Postal Service, gone. Department of Education, gone. All these people over here, gone, right? Then yeah, of course the unemployment rate is going to go up. But here's the difference. Like somebody said in the comments, and Elon did say this, where it's like, yeah, we'll probably give them like 2-year severance packages, which is just the dumbest thing I've ever heard, by the way. I mean, that's ridiculous. Nobody in the real world gets 2-year severance packages unless you're an executive. You know what I'm saying? And you're going to take my tax dollars and give somebody 2 years to go sit at home and do nothing? Like, that is ridiculous. It's nothing but a bait and switch. Because what you did was, you're supposed to be cutting spending and stuff. You just raise spending by hundreds of billions. Because depending on how many people they lay off, let's say they lay off 1 million, 2 million, you do the math on your own, put it in your calculator. And government workers don't get paid a little bit of money. They get paid, especially their benefits, they get paid well. Okay, this ain't what it used to be. They get paid well, especially those healthcare benefits and stuff, and the retirement system. So, that'll be a whole different ball game. But I don't think they're gonna do that, guys. I think it's good. Trust me, when they get pulled back in that office and say, "Hey, man, if you go through with this plan and it's gonna absolutely crash the market," they're gonna say, "No, thank you. We're good. We'll just," or like I said, they'll say, "Oh yeah, we'll lay them off, but 2-year severance packages." So, they get to sit at home for 2 years if they want to, or if they do get another job, they get a double dip, right? Which is even crazier to me. But it's not going to surprise me. But I can promise you, they ain't going to walk up in there without a plan. They're not just going to say, yep, 2, 3 million, 5 million people gone without something to subsidize this economy. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It'd be interesting if it did, though. Woo, boy. Could not be good. Because, it's not like all of a sudden these companies out here are going to say, well, we want hiring, but I guess we'll hire now because the government just laid all these people off. Or, the government just, slashed spending, so I guess we'll increase our spending. That's not how it works. Hopefully over time, that's what would happen. But it'll take time for that to pick up if that is the case. So anyway, let me know what you think. I'm always, I love reading your comments about that and stuff. So we'll see how it goes. Appreciate all the questions. Feel free to put any more down there for next week's video. Also put any questions you have. If you have any trading view questions, put them in there. I'll put them in the video as well. And tomorrow we'll set up for the week, which would be another interesting one. Will we finally get a pullback or just keep on marching higher? We'll have to see. So let me know your prediction. Have a good one, guys.